Hi everybody, Fran here at New Testament Explained. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Today's video is going to be looking at redaction criticism. We're going to be exploring what redaction criticism is. We're going to look at redaction criticism in action, and if you're studying Edexcel A-level religious studies, which all of these videos are tailored to, we're going to look at how you would answer an assessed question on this topic. So starting with what is redaction criticism. Redaction criticism is an approach to studying the New Testament, and it is a type of biblical criticism. And if you've watched my videos on source and form criticism, you'll notice I've started the exact same way. They are all different ways of studying the New Testament, and therefore they all come under this umbrella term of biblical criticism. As always, there is a video on biblical criticism if you want a better understanding of that term. So what makes redaction criticism different is that redaction critics focus on the entire book, the whole gospel, as opposed to individual passages, which we call pericopes. They look at the entire book and try to work out how the material has been adapted very sort of holistically to fit the author's own understanding of Jesus and who he was. And what they do therefore is look at the writers of the Gospels as editors, a term we actually call redactors in their own right. Redaction criticism actually builds upon the work done by form critics by looking at how the author uses these different units, these different passages to make sort of a big picture argument about how they understand Jesus. And finally, I've been using this analogy in all three videos so you can see the difference. If you had a pearl necklace, a redaction critic would study the entire necklace as opposed to an individual pearl on the necklace. In terms of redaction criticism in action, if you're studying Edexcel A-level religious studies, this is a really nice part of the course in that it's not new content, it's an opportunity for you to link redaction criticism to other topics that we have studied. So I've got an example from each of the synoptic gospels. So in Mark's Gospel, an example of redaction criticism or a redaction critic would be William Reed and his theory of the messianic secret, which is topic 1.1, prophecies regarding the Messiah. In Matthew's Gospel, you can look at the works of either Raymond D. Brown or Mona Hooker and explore how Matthew, in terms of our topic, especially in his birth narrative, tries to get across the notion that Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies, such as being from the line of David and the new Moses. And then in Luke's Gospel, you can use the work of Hans Conzelmann from our topic 5.1, the Kingdom of God in Luke, to look at how salvation history is presented across Luke's Gospel. All of those theories are on the YouTube channel already, so if there's anything you want to re-revise, look through the playlists, look for the relevant playlist and re-revise those topics because they do link into redaction criticism. Finally, if you are studying Edexcel A-level religious studies, you could be asked to assess the significance of redaction criticism. And I say it could be asked, it was on the 2020 paper, so students have been asked. So this slide again has a summary. It's definitely not everything you could say in response to this question, but it's just kind of a starting point in terms of what you could look at. And as always, the left-hand column and the right-hand column are linked into arguments and counter-arguments. So in terms of the first row then, an argument you could use to say redaction criticism is significant. It shows us that the Gospels are not just a collection of fragments that have been sort of put together, but they are planned and sophisticated pieces of writing. A counter-argument is redaction critics looking holistically at the Gospels tend to focus on what has been adapted rather than what has been preserved. So maybe the focus of redaction critics is not quite in the right place. Another line of argument, the second row, is that author's individual theology can be established. I've done an example of the calming of the storm. So Matthew emphasises discipleship, whereas Mark emphasises Jesus' authority. There's lots of examples you can use there from across the course. But there's quite a few counter arguments to that. Is with redaction criticism, the reliability of the Gospels is thrown into question, because if what you're saying is these pieces of work, these Gospels, are trying to get across a theological point, then how accurate are they? Do they tell us about the historical Jesus? How much insight can we get into what actually happened? Secondly, it relies upon the four-source hypothesis, which again, if you don't really believe in that theory, it undermines redaction criticism slightly. And if Mark wrote first, then the changes he made to his sources can't be detected. So can we understand Mark's gospel if we can't see how his book has sort of been formed and how he's changed materially, was influenced by? So again, that's just a starting point of what you could say for an assessed question. It's certainly not a definitive list. You could go beyond it, and I would definitely recommend making broader synoptic links across the Edexcel course. That ends my video on redaction criticism. Please make sure that you have watched those on source criticism and form criticism in order to see the three different types of criticisms we look at in the Edexcel course. And as always, if you've not subscribed already, please make sure you do so. Thank you.